Hello and welcome, everyone. Faisal here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to convert Illustrator files to PDF, or the different ways to convert an Illustrator file to PDF. Okay, to start off, it's important to know that the way you convert Illustrator to PDF depends on your needs, or what you specifically need. For example, if I want to export the file as a PDF for printing, there are several ways to do that. And if I want to send the file to a client so they can review the design file and give feedback or comments, there's also a specific way to do that. If I finish the design file and want to upload it to the web, like, for example, on websites, you know how when you browse the web, you sometimes see PDF files. Now, let's see how we'll be able to do all these things using Illustrator. Okay, let's start by explaining the first method. If my design file is intended for print, the first method. Or, this is the method for converting the design file for print. For example, I have this page with my design file on it, and I want to export it for printing. The print shop asked me to provide the file as a high-resolution PDF so that everything prints perfectly. Okay, let's say I have just one artwork. And of course, this applies to more than one artwork on multiple artboards. For example, here I have artboard number 1. If I go ahead and add another artboard, and another artboard as well, I'll end up with 3 artboards in this process. So when I do save as PDF or export to PDF in this process, it will include all 3 pages in order. So I have page 1, page 2, page 3. Okay, let's see the method. We go to File and choose Save As. Alright, first, it will show us this well-known box. Where do you want to go? Of course, here I already have it set up. First, it gives me the AI option, which is Illustrator AI. I click on Format here. I told him I wanted Adobe PDF. Okay, let's give it a name. Let's say the name is 1. Okay, and we click Save, okay? Now, all the explanation and discussion will be in this box, in the settings or options it gives us here, so we can see how to make it suitable for printing. Okay, so first, after we clicked on Adobe PDF here, the first thing it usually gives us is the Illustrator default. It's like, yeah, as if you're sending the file. Yeah, Illustrator, and everyone knows there's a high level of compatibility between Illustrator and PDF. So it's as if you're sending an Illustrator file, but it opens in Acrobat and so on. But when it comes to printing, we always export for print in the proper way. We have 2 options, either high quality print or press quality. And what's the difference between them? The difference is in the images. For example, let's say I have a design file. There are a bunch of images in it, and it needs to be printed. Let's say it's going to be printed at a very small size. You know, the image has to be high resolution. So when you select high quality print, it gives you the file. The PDF size in megabytes will be larger than with press quality. So both methods are correct. It depends on what you need. If you use high quality print, that's fine, and if you use press quality, that's also fine. Okay, now here with high quality print, when it comes to images, it says the resolution is 300 to 450 for bitmap images and things like that. So it's giving you the highest settings for printing. Okay, now if we go here, this is really important. It's about marks and bleeds. What is that? So in design file, let's create a bleed. If you were asked how to set up the bleed, of course, now I want to press Command plus P or Control plus BP from Bebel to see how I want. Set up the bleed for the file or the pages I have. Okay, now I've selected the artboard, so when I press Command plus Alt plus P, it gives me the units here. But I want to get wet. Let's tell it that I want a 3mm bleed. Alright, and I hit OK. Now here I have it. Let's pick any color, for example, like this. Now, if you notice, The red line it gave me is outside the artboard. That's the bleed. So I added so that the 3mm bleed I set up shows up. Okay, let's go back to explaining the file. I will give him a sword again. We agreed to name it 1. This is okay, 1. Alright, now let's say we chose Adobe PDF. Okay, save. Let's talk about the option we agreed on, which is high quality print. Okay, let me go and check the plate. Now here you have 2 ways. If you have the palette, for example, let's say it's about 1/2 centimeter, you can specify here that you want the bleed to be just 3mm. Or if you already set it to 3 and you want it to be 3mm, you just select this option here and tell it use document bleed settings, so it will take the bleed you set in the artboard or on the pages, whatever it is. So even if you set it to 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, or 3 centimeters, it will take all of it, and here you can specify it. Okay, as for the output here, we don't need to worry about it. In the advanced section, it just tells you that the font is all good. Yeah, it opens in Acrobat. Here you also have the security option for people who like to add a password and those kinds of things. Here, if you want, you can click Save and it will give you information like file description and general details. This is for people who, for example, send files from one country to another, so the file details will be available here. Okay, so that was one method, and as we mentioned, the press quality is also just another way. There's really no difference between them except that press quality gives you a bit more accuracy when it comes to images, illustrations, and high-quality graphics. That was the first and simplest way to export PDF files or to export Illustrator files as PDFs so they're ready for printing. Now we'll go over the second method. Let's say I have an Illustrator file that I'm working on. It has multiple pages, images, and overall, it's a pretty large file in Illustrator. So I want to send it to the client so they can review it and give me comments, approve it, or tell me to adjust the colors, change something, or request specific edits. So how are you going to send it by email? I mean, it's not reasonable if, for example, you have an Illustrator file that's 1 GB in size and you want to send it by email, or even upload it to WeTransfer, Dropbox, or Google Drive. That doesn't really make sense either. Alright, so let's see now what Illustrator is showing me here. This method is the same, even if you want to send it with a bleed or without a bleed. Also, if you're working on a magazine or a brochure, 8 pages, 16 pages, no matter how many pages there are. And here too, it gives you everything in order, using the same method. So that was number 1. This is number 2. Number 3, it gives you the same thing. It's the same thing, just for printing. But now, let's see how I can provide the file in low resolution, so it can be sent to the client by email easily, and they can give you their comments on it. Of course, everyone knows that this method is not suitable for printing. So, if you want to send a file that has images and so on, you'll find that the images have become RGB, and you'll notice that the images are compressed, so they're not high resolution. But what we want to see is how I can send it by email to the client so they can see their design file. Okay, it's the same thing. I go to File, then Save As. And again, I choose Adobe PDF. Okay, let's call this one 2 as well. I didn't save the previous one because there's no need. What matters to us is this one. Okay, I give it the number 2 and click Save. Okay, now I have it here. Quite simply, I'm going to choose something called smallest file size. That is, smallest file size which is well known. Yeah, let's say. Meaning with a small size, either to send to a client or to be sent by email. So I select smallest file size. Okay, here you have the image settings and the resolution settings, if you notice. At the beginning of the video, when we exported the file for printing, I had 300 and 450 here. Here, I had the maximum. Yeah, so the numbers here were always higher. Those are the image resolution numbers and things like that. Of course, you don't need to worry about the plate at all. You just need something that's going to be viewed on screens. I mean, it's not going to be printed. So you don't need the plate, which is for cutting during printing and things like that. This smallest method is an easy and quick way for people who want to reduce the size of the Illustrator file, making it much smaller and more manageable, so they can send it by email without any trouble. This is especially helpful when the client only needs to view the file, not edit it, and you can simply tell them to save the file after opening it. There's nothing else they need to do. That's all there is to it, making the whole process simple and efficient for both you and your client. It will save those 3 pages for me. Those 3 pages. Okay, that was the method for when I want to send it by email or send it to someone so they can check it out. So they can see the design file and give comments on it. Now, there's the third method we talked about at the beginning of the video. I was asked that after I finish the design file, it's not going to be printed. It will go to the website. Like, for example, you're working for a bank. You're working for a car company. You're working for a mobile phone company. They want to upload this PDF file to their website so that anyone browsing the site, if they want to download information about the car or about the phone or things like that, they can download it easily, and the file size will also be small. Okay, now it's well known that for any website in the world, any file you want to upload has to be small in size. I mean, I think sometimes they allow up to 10 or 13 megabytes, something around that range. Okay, so the method is pretty much the same as what we talked about earlier, how to send a PDF file by email, but there's an important point here. Now, I want to talk about it. Okay, let's do it. The thing is, let's also choose here the smallest file size option. It's the same method as when we send by email. Okay, now here's the point or the method I want to talk about. Now, for example, you have it on Illustrator. Let's say you're working, for example, on about 32 artboards or 32 pages. These pages have images and other stuff in them. Now, when you go to export or save as a PDF file, you'll find that the PDF file size, even on the smallest setting, is still a bit large. It might end up being 30 megabytes or maybe 20 megabytes. At the same time, that's how it comes out. If you want to print it, it could end up being 500 megabytes or even 1 gigabyte. Alright, so if you choose smallest and it comes out to 25, now 25 megabytes or 30 megabytes is considered large for a website. So you need to start reducing its size to get it down to 15 megabytes or 13 megabytes. So this is where you start working on it. For example, here you can set the quality to 50%, or take the 50% and make it 75%, or even cut it in half. Or, sorry, you can set it to minimum. So, basically, this is where you do the work. But keep in mind that with images, you'll notice the picture might get a bit compressed, or you'll see some pixelation, or the image will have a high level of pixelation. So this is something you coordinate between you and the client. I don't think it's a big deal, honestly. So that was, in a nutshell, the third method I wanted to explain. Yes! How I can do a save as for the Illustrator file, so it can be used on the website. And basically, this video was an explanation of the different conversion methods. There are 3 ways to convert the file, whether for printing or for email, or to have it appear on the company's website. And that's the whole explanation. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.